Oh, hi guys. Welcome to Let's Talk About Ice on the Couch tonight. I thank you all for tuning in on our website page. Now, please share this with your friends because you don't know who could be listening and watching, because we've got a very special night tonight, an interview with a very special fella who has titled his talk tonight Fight for My Life. So we'll learn a little bit about him a little bit later. But before we go on there, I'd like to send out a thank you because we haven't had a chance. We were off air last week because Andrea is away at the moment taking a well-earned break. It's been quite a few years since Andrea's had a holiday, so she's resting up and she deserves that rest, I think. And we all can say cheers to that. So I'd like to say thank you first and foremost to all those that participated and helped us through and donated with our race day. We had a fantastic day. It was just awesome. We didn't have anything go wrong. We had a lot of help. Thank you KB Supplies. Thank you Brad Vicoli and AJ, and there's many more. I didn't want to say names because I'm sure I'll miss somebody out, and I'm hoping that our producer has put up all those that sponsored us for the day and helped out on our race day. So thank you so much for that. That was a good success. We've raised enough money to pay the next rent and a little bit more for a little while longer. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm Leanne and I'm taking over from Andrea this week. Now, would like to talk about that, talking about sponsoring. If you guys would like to sponsor and do more for us at Australian Anti-Ice Campaign so that we can put the word out there and bring education on the dangers of ice addiction, please check out our website www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au, and you too can join the army. Just click on Join the Army and follow the prompts. You sign the petition, you click share with friends, and there's also an avenue for you to make a donation as well as creating your own crowd raiser, and that means you can then share it with your friends for them and friends of friends for them to also raise money for Australian Anti-Ice, because the way we do our work here is not for profit. We solely dependent upon the sponsorship and donations of the public, and for every $10 you are educating one child against ice addiction. Okay, and if you want more bang for your buck, you can also visit our shop online, www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au. Go to our shop. You can then buy a Neo t-shirt, $29. See that? Absolutely wonderful. We will have your size, I promise. And you can also get the caps. You've got the choice of the curved cap. This is more for the girls, okay, and this is for the fellas, unless you're a girl who wants to be. Yeah, this is good. I like this because you've got the Neo underneath. So you've got the shop online. We've got mugs as well you can buy. And they're, how much are the mugs? I'm just looking up at the prices here. Coffee cups are $15. Okay, so you want more bang for your buck, please visit our website and go to our shop and order. Okay, so I think I've got the housekeeping underway. I want to thank you for our sponsors, and let's get on with the show, shall we? Okay, tonight we have Brock, who is visiting with us. I'm going to go over to the couch now and sit with Brock. G'day, Brock.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Now, if we could, I'll get you to speak up and speak to the camera and just chat to me like you're just having an everyday chat.
Cool.
Okay, now Brock, you've titled your talk tonight on Fighting for My Life.
Yep.
And you're going to share your experience and journey through ice addiction. So my first question to you, Brock, is would you like to share a little bit about your background before ice addiction, the kind of life you grew up with? Would you like to share a bit about that first?
Well, I grew up in a pretty good home, had a supportive family. Yeah, my childhood was pretty good. Like, it was just a regular childhood, I guess. Yeah, I guess it was good. I think it was about 15, maybe 16. I started experimenting with drugs, and as you know, it starts like a little bit by little bit, cigarettes and into the pot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
After a few years, I stumbled across ice, and I guess it started, with slight use, which I guess advanced then on to abuse. I think by the age of maybe 21, 22, I was using ice full time. That was all, like, every day, most of the day, like very, very consistently.
Okay.
I I'd use the drug maybe 5-6 days of the week, have a day off, try and basically catch up on sleep that I'd lost over a matter of a week. Like I wouldn't sleep for 6 days. Then, you know, I'd use other drugs to put myself to sleep. I'd wake back up, and pretty much I become reliant on the drug. I couldn't live without it. So, you know, I'd have that bit of sleep and then go straight back to it, and it kind of like it slowly but surely took my soul. It took like my physical appearance.
Yes.
I lost a lot of friends, family. That was. Their addictions, and they obviously gave them to other people to feed their own.
Yes.
So, and in the big scheme of things, that's not a friend.
No, that's a frenemy.
Yeah.
So you think they're a friend, but they become an enemy.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the long run,
Yep.
you know. So, and what you said, it took you away. You said it clouded your judgment and did things to your mind. And this is what we say, and how it does break down in the brain. And this is for parents of those who may be watching tonight. And like I said, please share this live stream. You know, you don't have to just share it now. You can share it tomorrow. It'll be on our website for a long time, because there are those who've got loved ones in addiction, and they don't understand what they're doing. Their hearts are broken. I get phone calls, at least one every day, from someone who says, my son or my daughter, and I don't understand, they were the most beautiful, fun-loving person, and this drug has turned them into a demon almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and what it does, well, it plays with the neurological pathways of the brain.
Yep.
So then you don't think logically, you don't think rationally.
Yep.
Am I correct? Is that how it was for you?
Yeah, absolutely, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took away, you know, and even the times where you had to make decisions for your life, you wouldn't care. It just, it was terrible.
And did you suffer psychosis?
Absolutely. There was
Yeah,
points in time where, like, you know, I'd been awake for days on end, and nobody should do that, whether they're using drugs or not. You stay awake for a couple of days, it's going to ruin your mental state. But psychosis was definitely induced by ice itself. It was like, you know, I'd be at the window expecting or thinking people were there. They were never there. You know, expecting people to come running through my house with guns and weapons and things like that were going to happen to me. And that was never going to happen. It never happened itself. But in my mind, because of the drug, I thought it was. I really absolutely convinced myself that it was going to happen, and it never did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone who knows Andrea's story, she shares also that she would tape up her windows and block the light out because she thought that the government was watching her.
Right.
You know, and things like that. So everybody has these same, you know, there's a common denominator with everybody who's suffering in addiction. Now, I'm going to ask you a deep question. I have asked you, I'll let you know, folks, that I have already asked Brock if it's okay if we go this deep with him. But could you explain the darkest time in your life that this drug took you? And we ask you this question because there could be people out there who are just experimenting with this drug right now, or loved ones, parents, and family members who have loved ones in addiction and may not understand. So give them more of an understanding. What was one of the darkest times that you can remember that this drug took you?
Honestly, it was like when I started to like willingly do things to hurt like loved ones, not to hurt, but to make benefit for myself. And I'd steal off family members and and manipulate friends to gain, and the only gain in it at the time was to get more drugs. It was or get more ice at the time. It was it was disgusting to look back on the way I acted. It was just like, it wasn't me. It took the drug took my soul away, and and to look back at that, that's like my biggest regret, is to know the things that I did to people and the way I treated them. People that didn't deserve that. A lot of them would try and help. They'd try and support, try and pull me away from it. But I'd do what I could, to mentally manipulate them, or or create circumstances where they had no choice but to try and help me feed my addiction. And that was one of my darkest places for me. Yeah.
Right, because I mean, I've met you last week, and spoke to you again a few minutes ago before we started.
Yep.
You come across to me to be such a sincere, genuine, lovely spirited man.
Thank you.
And that's what you are now. How long have you been off the gear for now?
I've been clean for, I think it was 5 years on March 14th.
That deserves a high five.
Thanks.
Well done to you.
Thanks.
And I'm sure it hasn't been easy.
No.
But you were determined.
Absolutely.
Now, so that brings me to my next question. So what was the catalyst that caused you to want to, that's enough, I've had enough of this shit, excuse my language,
No.
I want to change.
Yeah,
What was the catalyst?
I don't know. Losing my family, like, they've been extremely supportive from the day I was born, really. But I think as I'd grown up and seen such a loving mum, especially, not in words turn her back on me, but she literally, she'd still keep in touch with me, make sure she knew I was safe, knew my whereabouts, things like that. But the love that I would get from her ceased. She didn't have the time.
Yeah.
She didn't, and not to say that I didn't deserve it, but she couldn't have me in her life. And after a while, knowing that she'd turned her back on me was enough to know that what I was doing was not right. It was and waking up in the mirror one day and you take a look at yourself, especially, like, it's good to have photos for memories, but I look back on photos of myself. I used ice for around about 2 years, and I'd look back 2 years prior to when I started using drugs.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm such a beautiful person, like, physically and inside and out. But after looking at yourself, after using ice for however long, I'd look at myself in the mirror, I was disgusted. And I'm a very, I really, I'm happy with who I am and how I look, and to see the decay that I experienced from that, it was just, it wasn't right. And I eventually was like, something's got to give, I've got to stop. Yeah, and so I slowly worked my way towards everything I did to get clean, and eventually Mum came back. Some friends I lost forever, but there's people there that seen the absolute change in me, and they're still in my life, and they'll be lifelong friends. But I think losing everything was a big part of that, even like losing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that does bring us to the point of enabling and not enabling, because I work in the as you know, folks, I work with the care team, and I'm the first point of call, people ringing, and I get a lot of parents ringing, and they're just heartbroken because, I get emotional because they see their kids going down this lane, these beautiful children that they once had. This dreadful, evil drug just kills, steals and destroys their child from them. And they say to me, but I don't want to see them homeless. I don't want to put them out on the street. And we're trying to teach them. And what would you say? Okay, I'll let you say it. What would you say to the folks that don't mean to enable their kids, but tend to do it? What would you say as somebody who's been through it?
Tough love's is a real thing. Tough love's an absolute real thing. If Mum had stuck by me the whole time I was using ice, it would have I wouldn't say escalated, but it would have continued longer than what it did. It was the fact that sometimes, as I said, it's not, you don't want to give up on your kids. You don't want to forget about them and pretend they don't exist or make them feel like they don't exist. Obviously, like as I said, with my mum, she was always concerned about my whereabouts and my health and safety and wanted me to know that she loved me. But I think distance is a great thing because obviously, especially when, if between your children and yourself you were close as they were growing up, it's like I eventually myself learned that it hurt as with that distance and I think that's the tough love's the best thing. Like obviously, I think being there, like providing money and things like that for someone who's in addiction is not. It's
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. It's for me. It only enabled me more. So, and I guess if you got to support someone, a loved one, financially when it comes to an ice addiction, the best way to do it's food and things like that, like clothes and stuff like that, because it can, it will actually go to them. Whereas I think money and that, it's as I said, with me, it's enabler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you said before it's tough love, and that's what it is exactly. It is tough love, and we also like to call it, rather than boundaries, because that gives it a negative connotation, it's fences of love.
Yeah.
And always saying, like you said, your mum said, I'll be here for you, I love you so much.
Yeah.
And here's the phone, I've got a phone number of a rehab. While you're in front of me, if you're determined to change, I want you to ring them.
Yeah.
And I'll walk and do the journey with you,
Yeah.
rather than letting them come home and sleep it off, getting them ready for their next hit.
Yeah.
Doesn't work, does it?
No, I think I think being there for them, being really pushy didn't work with me myself.
Yeah,
like being
you're not
extremely
realistic,
pushy, like it's just gonna make, like I myself, it would push me away to the point where I'd disappear and it wouldn't work. But guidance and being pushy are two different things in my opinion. Yeah, and I think as you said and as I said, reminding someone you love them and make them aware of the sort of support that they've got, especially in the community. It's the best way, I think. Like it may take 100 times to to sink in, but a subtle and peaceful reminder is great.
Yeah,
I think.
I like that, a subtle and peaceful reminder, not pushiness.
Yeah.
And I know that it comes from a heart of love, though, with parents, and we know why they do it. But it's not helping, guys. It's just not helping. You've got to be gentle, as Brock has said, and guide them gently. Show them that you love them, but don't enable them. Don't help them put that needle in their arm or that powder up their nose. It just doesn't work that way, does it?
Absolutely.
So,
No.
so getting back to your journey, you had that catalyst. You said was your mum and your family turning their back in a sense. What led you to? Did you go to rehab? What was? Yep. How did that go for you? Because I know a lot of those suffering an addiction that may be watching now, they're scared of rehab.
Yeah, I was myself too, and once I eventually got there, it's confronting for a very short time, but I think recovery, it happens in communities, and with rehab, it's not just like you're one person that's being under the pump by a professional. You've got a group of people that are all fighting for the same goal, and it's a lot easier than what I thought before I knew how it worked. It's like and rehab, I think it's a very helpful thing for everybody, especially if you're battling an ice addiction. It's like you're going to have people there that are much like yourself to support you. I think it's amazing the things that they do. Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit of the fear of the unknown too, and because of that psychosis, they probably think it is something that it's not.
Yep.
And well, what are the options? If you don't do rehab, I'm sad to say the options are homelessness, mental health, or getting into a mental unit, or suicide or death. And
with rehab, it's like it's not just about the drugs too. It's like you have help with your mental health, with the things like, the community sort of like housing and stuff like that. So it's like, there's a lot more to it than just like we're here to make sure you don't use drugs. It's a very supporting community
There you
with
go,
a lot
guys.
of resources.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a supporting community. It's something. It's not easy, I'm sure.
Yep.
But once you get through that hard part, like you said, that first little bit.
It was literally
It
for
was
me a day.
one day.
Yep.
Okay, so it's different for probably different people, but
Yep.
you know, you've got that community of support. Speaking of which. Are we able? We're going to trial something new here. We've got a online poll. Is that going to work, Brad?
Pretty sure it should already be out. But
Okay, we've got an online poll, and there's been news lately that the New South Wales government, in cahoots with the Wollongong University, are trialling a drug to help those with ice addiction, very similar to the methadone program, I think, with heroin. And so we're going to put a poll up because we're interested in what you people who have experienced this firsthand and family members who have experienced this drug firsthand, what you think about this. And the question is, we're asking is, do you agree that this would help with those in ice addiction? And just simply click on yes or no. And hopefully by the end of the program, I'll ask our producer, Brad, what the percentages are and what people think out there. So, and if you've got any questions too, guys, please write them up. And I know Andrea, hi Andrea, if she's watching from where she is, resting I hope. Andrea will help answer your questions, any of your questions, because I'm sorry I don't have my computer in front of me tonight to be able to read the online questions that you guys put up. So, and if you've just tuned in, we're talking to Brock Martin, who is talking about his journey in ice addiction, and you labelled your story tonight, Fight for My Life. So what was the part where you felt you were fighting for your life?
Once I realised everything had slipped through my fingers, like,
Yeah.
you know, who I was as a person, like and there was one point there where I was like, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I like there was nothing that really, I didn't exist of anything, like there was nothing to me but the drug and the things I do to maintain that high. It was it was wrong. It was disgusting. Yeah.
And so you lost your true identity as a human being.
Yep.
And that's what happens with this drug, and it takes you, like I said, with that neurological pathways. But from my studies and what we learn with the brain, the way God created our brain, plus it's all plasticity. It takes time. And how long would you say it took you before you could start to think normal again and get out of the psychosis and things like that?
It took, I think, like, I'd say around 3 months, but that wasn't like, at 3 months I was like, okay, everything's better. Things started to give. I think after the 12 weeks it was like, and that's generally how long a rehab's, like you go to rehab for. So that's like by the time you're out of rehab, you go there, you do your detox, do your rehab. But after the 3 months, it's like, things start to get easier, and every single day gets better and better and better. And not to say that there's not still a struggle, because even me 5 years later, I still have issues with, you know, like there's things that trigger me, and there's things that like I wouldn't say I want to use the drug, because I'm at a point now where I know I'm strong enough that I would never do it again. But it's like every day that goes by, from, you know, even from the, like I wouldn't even say 3 months actually, like it's from like the moment that I stopped using, like you're going to go through your withdrawals and stuff like that, and each person it's going to be different, but within a few days of me stopping using, it was like, for one, I felt pride. It literally was like a weight off my shoulders.
Wow,
so,
that's good.
Yeah, but then as time went by, like, you know, 3 months later, you're not having, like, you know, your brain's not telling you the things that you used to, like, I need this and I want this, and you know, it's just, yeah, as I said, like, as time goes by, it gets easier and easier.
Yeah, because I might have missed the answer, but how long were you in ice addiction for?
Around 2 years.
2 years.
Could have been a little bit more, could have been a little bit less, but I'm thinking more, I think it's a little bit more.
More in that 2 years. What about your health? Other than the brain, we've talked about that, did it affect your health in any other way?
Oh, absolutely. I was like, I went from being around the size I am now, which is around 80 to 90 kilos, I went down to like 45, 50 kilos, so that was, you know, for my age and the size it was disgusting. I was completely unhealthy. So physically I was unhealthy, like, you know, I'd get sick and I wouldn't get better for weeks. It was just like, you know, my immune system was like, it was shot, like, yeah, I think, and then on, you know, on top of it, the normal stuff, like the mental side of things, it was terrible. I was mentally sick. So But as time went by, that got easier and easier. It lifted it, like my body repaired itself, my brain repaired itself, and that's like
Yep.
just with
And was that good with good eating and healthy lifestyle?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they say vital greens.
Yep.
And that's where I want to bring in, just do a bit of a commercial break here for George Patrici, our optimal health counsellor, who's part of Australian Anti-Ice campaign. He does very good teaching on chemically to speaking. Yes, it's on the website. If you need to know more about that, then call our office on Monday. We close on Fridays, and we can get you onto that. It's 07 for Brisbane, 5665 6063. And even if you and at this point I'll say, if you know of anyone struggling in addiction and you'd like some advice or need a buddy, need someone to support you, call our office, or you could also call our family support number on 0481 844 555. Okay, I have the family support phone over the weekend, and within 48 hours I will get back to you, and we can put a tripod system of support in place for those who may need help, because like Brock is saying, you need a community of people around you to help you through it. Don't try and do it on your own. It just doesn't work that way. You need to get those that have also done the journey. This is how AAIC work. We use lived experience people who have been off the drug for a minimum of 12 months, and they've been through detox, been through rehab themselves, and they go through training with us. And Brock is actually going to be one of our new presenters soon. We've got a training coming up very shortly, and we'll teach you how to go into the schools, how to educate, how to be a buddy to somebody that you may know in addiction, and put them on the tripod system of support. So that is, you're the buddy. The second leg is helping them get into community service such as NA. And also if they need a clinical counsellor or psychologist, we've got them part of the AAIC, which is Optimal Health Group, that can help them. And that's the tripod system of support that we've found is evidence-based, it works. And and so that's how we work here at AAIC. If you would like to know more and learn a little bit more about us, please go to our website, as I said, all the W's, australianantiicecampaign.org.au. So at this point in time, we talked about rehab, we talked about the physical condition, and how long it started to take before you could start to see a change within yourself.
Yep.
And what about the community around you, your family members, people like that? When did they start to see that you were fair income about wanting to change?
the moment that my brain switched, I went, I don't want this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
With everyone, they're your family. They're gonna know when you either when you're being legit or when you're gonna talk shit.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but
No.
it's I had support from the moment that I turned around and went, this is not for me anymore. And when I was 100% serious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you find you don't have your family to support you, AAIC are a great community family. We
Yep.
will support you.
Yep.
We will not give up. We do not like people to fall between the cracks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really good. And it's really great to get to know you, Brock, through this, and have you on board as part of our team, and being an educator in addiction and those that with addiction. And we go out to the schools, as I said, because these kids don't know what they're wrestling with. Even with you, now you mentioned earlier, if I could just go back to the doorway being pot. You were a pot smoker for a while.
Yep.
We know that marijuana isn't the same marijuana as it used to be in the 70s and 80s.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
It's laced with ice.
Yep.
It's laced with other poisons.
Yep.
And this is what we go and tell the kids in school and workshops, and they are just shocked and horrified to know.
Yeah, it's disgusting, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you said before that you lost so much weight.
Yep.
We've got drug dealers hanging around schools, offering this to young girls who are at that age of trying to find their identity,
Yep.
losing weight,
Yep.
and they don't realise what they're taking. As soon as they realise what they're taking, they're in shock, and we want to teach them. So by giving them education, and education is the biggest thing, we show them what they could be doing to their lives. I mean, who's young and wants to grow up saying, oh yeah, I want to be an ice, taker when I grow up. I want to sell my body to keep up my habit. Nobody wants to do that as a child, as a
Absolutely
person growing up. And so we go out there, we educate, so that means lower the demand, which can cut off the supply.
Yeah.
Okay. How are we going with that?
Okay, I got a question from Andrea's actually on watching.
Okay.
So she wants to know why did you start, and did you know what it was when you first had it?
Very good.
Yeah.
So, did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you start?
It was a social thing. I'd spend time with friends. We'd go to parties and stuff like that. And at first, obviously, I didn't know what it was until I experienced it completely. And I tried it. I wasn't really aware of it. Ice back then, in where I grew up, ice wasn't like, oh look, it's ice, it's terrible. Like it wasn't. People weren't very aware of that. So it was like it was used more openly. Nowadays, like I've met like people along my time that use it, and they're very discreet about it because our society's becoming very against it, which is excellent. So,
Good.
but back that like 5 and a bit years ago, it was like, oh here, try this. It's just a bit of ice. Like no one it was not very common. So I did try it. I wasn't completely aware of what it was. I was told what sort of effects it had, but to me, at the time, it didn't. It was kind of made out to be something harmless, like
Harmless,
like what people did with pot. It was like, oh, back in the day,
Yep.
just smoke a bit. It's not too bad. There's nothing.
So, did you smoke it, inject it, or sniff it?
I smoked it.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the pipe.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And I think that was like it's the worst because you can use grams of the stuff, put it in a pipe, and no one's going to willingly take grams of drugs. But with the pipe, it's like it takes over your mind, and you can sit there and smoke an amount that if any normal person took, even ingested, they'd overdose and die.
Wow.
So.
And it is mixed with poisons.
Oh, absolutely, it is poison.
It is a poison itself, but the ice is also laced with things that you'd use for acid, like Drano.
Yeah, cleaning sort of stuff. Yeah,
and nail polish remover.
Yeah.
Things like that. Do you want that in your body? Seriously? Looks like we've got another question.
Well, we've got different answers to the poll. Some are saying no, it's just replacing one drug with another, which is understandable. It's still a crutch.
Yep.
But others are saying if it's like methadone that they've seen that work, so that could be a
Okay.
good thing.
So what is it, 50-50 or?
Well, yeah, at the moment they were the two people actually commenting.
Yes.
We've got someone asking why their loved one is actually putting on weight when they've had big eyes.
Okay, because it can do one of two things. Yeah, it can. I have heard that before, that people said they have put on weight because they're eating maybe.
Right.
It's causing them to eat more because they're staying awake for days at a time.
Right.
And so they do put on weight, so it can have that one extreme to the other.
Yeah, I think people's bodies react differently, and like I wouldn't say the drug itself would make you eat more, but I suppose after not eating for multiple days, then when you do, you're going to binge eat, and the body and the metabolism are going to alter itself to hold more fat and things like that to work with the fact that your body knows it's going to, for 5 days, now that someone's going to use ice, there's going to be no food, so they're going to, your body will maintain that fat to get through that time of not eating again. So, and that's I guess that could be something to do with the metabolism.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if everybody could hear our producer Brad was saying with our poll at the moment, it's a bit 50-50. Some people believe that this new drug can be good because they've seen how the methadone has worked well, and others have said that they don't feel it's good because it's just replacing one drug with another. It depends on the side effects too. They're still in trial, so so it's interesting to hear. Anything else we got there, Brad?
Someone saying that you're doing a great job.
Oh,
and,
thank you.
Brent is struggling with trying to help someone. He said he's giving them the numbers that we provide, that we're like trying to give someone help, but they're not ready to take it yet.
They're not ready, and that's the thing. Thanks, Brent, for being so honest with that, mate. My suggestion to you is just like what Brock said: don't be pushy. Stand back and maybe just let them go for a bit. What would you say about that, Brock?
Yeah, I try. Like I've tried to help people. People tried to help me. It's like until the person's ready, and not too much progress may happen. But I guess if they're on their way down, everyone's going to get to that level eventually where they go, enough's enough. So I guess as you've said, I think standing back at times may be a more helpful way to deal with it.
Yeah, and even though it hurts to watch them do that,
Yeah.
it's in the long run, you've got to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, you may feel as though you're not helping by not doing anything. The biggest thing is don't enable the person. If you're not, there's your help there. It's like there's not much more sometimes you can do. It's a powerful drug. It's terrible. It takes over people, and yeah, not enabling someone is the best help you can give them when they won't accept anything else, because no one can stop you from not enabling them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Anything else you'd like to add in your story, or something that you'd like to share that the public, somebody listening in, would like to hear?
The best advice I ever got
Yes.
in becoming clean was from a woman, a friend of mine's mum, and she was an ex-addict at the time. She was around 10 years clean. Her name's Catherine, and yeah, she obviously, because she'd been through it all, she knew how to deal with an addict. She'd done NA, she'd done a lot of
Yep.
stuff in the community once she came clean, and I think the best, it's hard support. It's hard to take support from someone that hasn't experienced it. So, not to say that someone that without experience in the drug doesn't have the right advice, because they may. But for people that are trying to get off the drug, it's for someone that's been on it. It's a lot easier to understand and know that they've got trusting advice.
Yes, because they've done the journey,
Yep.
and also on the other hand, that person who's being their buddy knows when they're manipulating. They
Yep.
can recognise it for
Yep.
what it is,
Yep.
and can pull them up at that point.
Yep.
So it has a twofold effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I myself found myself in traps very often, while I was trying to get off the drug and struggling, taking advice from people that still use the drug. It never worked for
No.
me. Yeah, they may have the right, they might have a heart, but it's near impossible. Two people that are both using a drug trying to help each other, it
Yeah.
counteracts it.
It goes back to that old saying, the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, because you're blind from it,
Yeah.
and you're both doing psychosis, and you're just, yeah, mate,
Yeah.
let's try and get off this together, but let's, have one more together,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to make a mockery of it, please
No.
forgive me, but
No.
it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think and separating yourself from people that are using, it's hard. It's hard
Yeah,
to
good point.
to stop using when you're around people
Exactly.
who are, and you may love them, but it's like at the end of the day, you have to love yourself first, and then I think setting a good example for these people that are still using, especially if you're like making that transition into not. It's like it's being a positive
Yeah.
example.
And I know that we've had in the past had to fly people from one state to another to go to rehab just to get them out of that environment.
Yeah.
And that's
I
what
did
you've
it.
got to do.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, I moved out of the suburb that I grew up in, and
Right.
and every time that I'd move further and further and further away, the cleaner I got, because it was just like it's
It's not in that, the temptation's not there.
yeah, absolutely.
It's too far away
Yeah.
to for you to fall into temptation.
Yeah, and I'm at a point in my life now where temptation is nothing. I'm strong, and
Yes.
I will never break. But that takes time, and in the meantime, it's like the closer you are to the people that are using or that you once knew that used, it makes it really difficult. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a lot of wisdom out there in what you've given. Any more questions, Brad? And I need to know the time, mate.
Andra mentioned the thyroid gland can be affected, which can affect weight. We've got Roz on there saying that, exactly what you're saying there. His son has shown up and just eating so much in front of him that he
Yep.
got sick.
So the thyroid gland does play up, yeah.
Right.
And for those that are saying for those that put on weight and stuff like that. Time? How much time?
Quarter to 8.
4 to 8. So we've got a few more minutes left. I'm just wondering if there's anything else that you were hoping that you'd want to say to somebody down there that may be struggling, or even a loved one who has someone in addiction.
Every day, as I said earlier, every day gets easier. The more you commit to not using, it's more and more rewarding every single day of your life. And
Isn't that great?
even at the point where the temptation stops, and you know that you're not going to slip back into that place, it's still every day that goes by, I still feel better about myself knowing that I'm still fighting that.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
And then you're better for yourself, better for your family, And like I said, there's a lot of support out there, and with Australian Anti-Ice Campaign and how we work, we're like a little family. We can help set you up with a buddy. So once again, please go to our website, www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au. Have a look around, guys. If you're new and just checking us out, you'll see you'll hear Andrea's story, as well as seeing we were on a current affair a couple of years ago now with our program that we're taking to schools and teaching kids on the dangers of addiction and teaching them what is in ice. And you mentioned earlier, I've just had a thought, you talked about how you looked, your body changed. With our education, what we do with our program, it's a PowerPoint program, it's an interactive workshop. We show the kids the before and after photos.
Yeah.
And of those that have been on ice, and it's absolutely demonizing, is that a word? it's just horrid the way it changes everything, not just within your body but without. And I know that Andrea wouldn't mind me sharing how even up to today she's been off for 5 years, a bit much like yourself, and she's been off 5-6 years now, and she still has trouble with her kidneys and lungs. And things like that. So we're just here to warn the community, you know. We're not here to tell you not to do it. We're just here to show you what happens when you do it.
Yeah.
And that's what we go into when we do the education. We go in, and our lived experience people, who, like you said, are the best ones to hear from, they say, I didn't want to lose my life and them having to pump me back into life again. I didn't want to be in a mental health institute. I didn't ask for that because I thought I was having fun with my friends and peer pressure. And what would you say to the young ones watching, or anyone who has struggles with peer pressure? What would you say to them?
Ice is not a way to deal with it. It makes things a million times worse. And if I could turn back the clock to that point of where I tried it for the first time, I would never.
And it sounds like it was peer pressure amongst your mates.
So, and it's like, I guess if you've not used before and you've got friends that do, and it's something that's going through your mind, I'm telling you from the other side, it's not worth it, not a single bit.
No, it's not worth it, guys. So, please show this video around. It'll be on the website always, and only because these stories are here, not because we want to make ice look like it's, you know, something you can do and get out of it and become a speaker. It's not like that at all. It's to show you that it's wrong in every possible way. It just takes you down that highway of destruction. And speaking of which, Andrea has a CD out, Highway of Destruction, and every song on it she wrote herself, and it was about her journey. And if you'd like to get a hold of a copy of that, you can get on our website and go to our shop and get yourself a copy. It's only $15, and everything of that $15 goes towards helping educate people on the dangers of ice addiction. So we don't want any more people going down the highway of destruction. I was talking to our researcher today, and the wastewater results are just ridiculous. They just keep going up and up and up. And a few weeks ago it was on the news, and saying that once again they test the wastewater for the different. They can break down the different types of drugs, from nicotine to heroin to methamphetamines and to ice. And in the wastewater testing, it's gone up again.
And the wastewater is what, the sewage and stuff like that?
That's the sewage. And they test the drugs that are coming out into the sewage. And it just keeps, and so it's not working. Whatever the government is trying to do right now, it's not working, obviously. So what does work? What do you think works? Education?
I think from people that have been there and done it. Like, I think, you know, the government, they've got a lot of, I guess, the idea of what they want in a sense in the long run is correct, but how to get there, I don't think so much. I think it's education from people that have been there, that have done it, that have been through it with their families and their friends and things like that, and moved past that. I think that's
And they're going to listen, like you said, they're going to listen to lived experience people. Earlier, it was at Schoolies actually last year. Brad and I were on the streets and surfers, and we did a bit of took the camera out on the streets and asked the kids there celebrating Schoolies, who would you rather hear about this from? You know, would you rather hear it from your teacher, a police officer that comes into your school, or somebody who's lived the experience? And 99.9% of the time, the kids were saying, oh no, lived experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because they know they've been there, you know, and they've seen the dangers and they've experienced the hell that it takes you down, you know. So so get on board with us, guys. We would love to have your support. Sign the petition online. Become please become a supporter in the sense that you can make a donation and help us fight this fight against ice addiction. I want to thank you for your time too.
Thank you very much. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
Brock. And before we go, there's always one thing we like to ask our visiting interviewees.
Yep.
Look down the barrel of the camera, and if there's one word you can use to describe ice, what would you call it? What would you say?
Destruction.
Destruction. You don't want that, folks. You really don't want that. So thank you for tuning in. Pass it around. Don't forget to go to the shop. And Andrea's putting out the Neo, Not Even Once. And yeah, and not just the shirts. You've got the caps. You've got the mugs. Can I show you the mugs? Look at these great mugs. You can. What a great way to open up conversation on Not Even Once. And you've got the hand signals there because of my Gucci hands. I'm unable to do it, but that's okay. You've got the Not Even Once symbol. See that? Yeah. Not Even Once. So you can grab a mug. You can buy something if you want bang for your buck, or if you want to give a donation, you're quite welcome to do that. So how are we going with the polling there, Brad? Oh, he's bringing it up just now because as we sign off, we'll just let you know how that went, guys. And like I said, any more questions out there? Okay. So. Okay, it's not showing results. But it's interesting to get a broad range of what people think about that drug too. So, yeah. So there you go. Like I said before, some people think it could work, some people think it couldn't. And it depends on the side effects too. That's always a big worry for me.
Yeah, I think in the early stages, I guess there'd have to be a lot of testing to be done.
Yeah.
And
but most of all, like you said, eating healthy and the vital greens are very important. And we've got a Bovite, I can't say it properly. There's a liquid nourishment drink that we sell on our shop site that can help as well with getting the goodness into your body and system, and helps with the memory as well, because I know with Andrea she's lost a lot of memory from her addiction.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you've got that. Is it like a black blanket? Yeah, you just don't remember a certain part of your life?
Yeah, just certain points. Like it's just there's just blank spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as you said, healthy eating was a massive thing for me. As the friend of mine that was helping me through addiction, she ate extremely clean, cut out a lot of specific things, but just the healthy eating, the greens and all that sort of stuff, it made a big difference. Yeah, and working out too, training was like a lifesaver for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got that, guys. Eating healthy and training, getting fit.
Yeah, exercise is great for everybody.
Yep, absolutely, a good walk.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with the next episode of Let's Talk About Ice on the Couch. Thanks, Brock.
Thank you. It's my
God
pleasure.
bless you. Down and out.